Kicking off the list at number 10, Hush. Dr. Thomas Elliot was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's. Their upbringing, however, is just a touch different. See, Tommy tried to kill his parents so he could inherit their fortune, but unfortunately that didn't go as planned. But because Bruce's father, Thomas, was so great with his hands, surgically he was able to save them. So he of course became the masked villain, Hush. He spent his years working up ways to get revenge on Bruce Wayne, even getting help from, of course, Red Hood. Now of course he knows quite a bit about Bruce, so Red Hood's job was to mess with Bruce's head. That version of Red Hood ended up being seen as Clayface, because he wasn't ready to reveal himself to Batman just yet. So while the Riddler's mind was enhanced in the Lazarus Pit dip, he figured out who Batman was. But of course Jason Todd gave him confirmation. And before we go on to number 9, if you haven't already done so, make sure to hit that like button, because it helps us out here at the studio quite a bit. Now moving on to number 9, Joker Beatdown. See, usually when a main character dies in a comic book or a movie, the rest of the film just shows the other lead gearing up for revenge. In Jason Todd's case, death was not the avenging action to make. See, after the Joker had killed Jason Todd, Batman didn't kill the Joker. Now, of course, his one rule holds him from doing that, but in this case, is it warranted? Red Hood believes so. In fact, he ended up kidnapping the Joker and torturing him, even giving Batman an ultimatum. Kill Jason, or let Jason kill the Joker. The beating itself is just beautifully awful. Number 8, Arkham Knight. Fans rejoiced when the 2015 Arkham Knight game was announced. We loved the series since Arkham Asylum, back in 2009. Wow, 11 years ago. Get out of town, I feel sick. Are we all getting old? Are we just old now? Is that it? But when it comes to Arkham Knight, this was one of my favorite video games of all time. Not even just saying that. So of course I have to include it in this list. The villain in the game was of course the Arkham Knight, who was revealed to be Jason Todd. Now instead of dying at the hands of Joker, he was being held hostage and driven insane, eventually becoming one of the hardest villains I've played in a superhero game. So he sports the new outfit and conflicts chaos for the 17-hour gameplay. That's around 45 hours for the 100%ers. I got to like 42 hours, I couldn't do it. It was too much. The Riddler trophies? Get out of town. Who has the time? If you haven't already played it through, there's a few alternate endings. So make sure if you do play, you really try and collect everything, because those alternate endings are creme de la creme. Number 7, The Last Crusade. We go now to the 2016 Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade, written by Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello. So off the bat, readers see Candy Forsythe and Len Wright on Good Morning Gotham. They rejoice over the fact that the Joker has been taken into custody again, but this time they look at Robin, as he's just a boy. They even use the words child endangerment when referring to him taking down the Joker. See, Jason Todd's methods are shown quite to be violent. After a chase with Joker's hitman, Batman disables their van. Stupid, ignorant amateurs, Batman says as he tries to drag them free of the flaming van. He could smell gasoline, so he encouraged Robin to hurry with taking them out of the non-reinforced van. Maybe his version of taking them out is a bit different. See, one of the punks pops his head out, but shortly after his head is stomped on by Jason. And the issue even highlighted how the punk's blood steamed and bubbled on the hood. Looks like a pretty red hood, if you ask me. The issue goes on to show how Batman feels responsible for the methods in which Robin takes down these bad guys. Batman even saying, "This is what I trained him to be, a ruthless killer." And this is when Jason decides to handle some Joker business on his own. Number 6, Philipe Garza's death. In Batman issue 424, The Diplomat's Son, we see Robin take matters into his own hands. Ranked number 28 in Wizard magazine's list of 100 best single-issue comics since you were born, The Diplomat's Son has one of the darkest title page illustrations I've seen. So we see a not-so-smiley Robin pushing somebody off of a building. And judging by the size of the cars down below, it's not the kind of push we saw from the Dark Knight. Now the victim was a not so great guy by any standards at all, the victim being Philipe Garza. See, after avoiding a sexual assault and battery charge, a lot of readers actually enjoyed Philippe's fate, considering how bad this guy is. After Philippe fell to his death from his penthouse suite, Batman swoops in and asks the pressing questions. Did he fall, or was he pushed? And Robin simply replied with, I guess I spooked him. He slipped. And Batman is left standing there thinking about what had just taken place and why. And number 5, Earth 51's Joker. Now, halfway through this list, we're thinking maybe he's a bit of a troubled soul. Well, in the final Crisis event, we see one of the craziest things ever. On Earth 51, that is. Jason Todd was sent to find Ray Palmer across the multiverse, and during his travels he met the Batman from that Earth 51, who at this point was a bit different than our classic Caped Crusader. See, Earth 51's Batman was this badass murderer after Jason Todd's death. So after he was given a fancy new red suit, that Batman was murdered by the Joker and other multiverse characters. So our Jason Todd decided to kill Joker by using a rock to his head. Holy sh**. I mean, in all fairness, he was laughing at that Batman's dead body, so kind of warranted? I don't know. It's a rock. Number 4, Jason and Grayson. Following Infinite Crisis, DC released a comic in 2006 titled 1 Year Later, which, as you would guess, shows where our heroes and villains are exactly a year afterwards. So Dick Grayson moves to New York and then he sees that Nightwing is there. And he's taking care of criminals. Like taking care of them, you know? With a little side of death in there, just sprinkled in, you know, just some punches and some death. The suited up Dick Grayson is then approached by the fake Nightwing, who turns out to be none other than our Red Hood, Jason Todd. So of course they scrap it out and Dick Grayson is knocked off a building, with Jason Todd of course preaching how much more the city of New York liked his take on the Nightwing mantle. The pair end up fighting again for the second time and Jason Todd wins again. The two ends up teaming together, but seeing Red Hood steal Nightwing's mantle and kick some serious ass, that's one for the books. Number 3, he stole some tires. Jason Todd was given a darker origin after the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline. This time we see him introduced to Batman as a criminal, which does make a lot of sense considering the horror stories I just told you about. So Batman catches him while he was stealing tires. Doesn't sound too bad. I mean, now's the time for winter tires to be put on anyways. No, these tires belong to the Batmobile. Yikes. So Batman wasn't too upset. In fact, he was kind of impressed. See, the Batmobile isn't an easy target. I mean, there are security systems in place to avoid a situation like being left with no tires at the beginning of a mission, which would be hilarious. This got the attention of Batman, unfortunately. Who knows, if Batman didn't catch him, maybe he would have turned out differently. Maybe he would have had a different upbringing. Just like as a petty thief rather than, you know, Red Hood. That would be a great alternate issue though. Batman's like, I'm on my way, and then he just sees this car with no tires. He's like, okay, I'll be there in like 42 minutes. Damn it! Number 2, Robin vs. Robin. Imagine getting dumped and your significant other dates somebody that's just like you but better in all the right ways. Isn't that brutal? And to make matters worse, imagine if you saw them and they were wearing your clothes. Like, what if this dude had on your hoodie? That's crazy. The disrespect. So after Jason Todd's return, he of course was not a fan of the new Robin, Tim Drake. And to show who the real Robin is, Jason decides to beat the hell out of Tim Drake. He even took down the other Titans in the process. Even though Tim may be the better detective and better trained than Jason, anger really is something else. And finally at number 1, the Poison Prison Blues. So while Tim Drake held the mantle of the Caped Crusader, Jason Todd was being held in Arkham Asylum. In Batman's words, it was for his own protection. So after explaining to Batman that he had passed all the tests numerous times, the psychological tests, he was transferred to a regular prison in Gotham. Now at this point, there's tons of criminals that want a piece of Jason Todd. Jason decides he's had enough of the incoming threats and poisons the cafeteria, killing 82 and sickening about 100 more. That's one way to take out all of your haters. Geez, it kind of reminds me of that scene from Watchmen with Rorschach. Kicking off the list at number 10, she killed Maxwell Lord. Okay, it's one thing to kill an enemy, but to do it in front of thousands of people? I mean, do you have to? Wonder Woman issue 219 showed us a side to Wonder Woman that unfortunately had to come out. This issue was awesome. She handled Lord Maxwell and she wasn't playing around. Now at the time, Superman was a little off. And by off I mean under control by Maxwell himself. So he was a threat, and the two of them going at it was already intense enough. Something you don't want to see. Like Diana is pulling out some boss moves. At one point she says that every single strength can be turned into a weakness. And when he stops speaking, that's when I know he's using his ears. God forgive me, followed by a mighty huh, and just rocks his eardrums. Then she tries to shake Maxwell down using the lasso of truth, demanding to set Superman free from his grasp. He says, kill me, and she responds not with words, but with actions instead. And even Superman's like, whoa. And before we head over to number 9, guys, we have a huge announcement. We have another channel coming back after 3 years of running the show here. Landon himself is coming back with Landon Productions, and his first video is set to premiere December 7th. It's coming up. So go turn on your notifications on that channel as well, because you don't want to miss it. I've seen and heard what he's working on, and it sounds like a great time.
Is the Canada Goose gonna take it on?
I'm on top like I'm goddamn Mario, right? I'm just
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, is this real life right now?
Number 9, super intimate. Guys, superheroes have emotions just like us, okay? They meet other supers, they fall in love, they have super babies, they have lives too, it's fair. Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the power of a god. So after the triumph that is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into a scene that we could have all gone without, involving her and Superman. So her and Superman get it on. In a fancy super hotel, maybe the Fortress of Solitude? No, God no. They get it on in the sky, you know, causing massive tidal waves, volcanoes are shooting off, they even moved the earth a bit. Man, even people are evacuating islands. Like, this is a bad day for everybody but Wonder Woman, of course. Next time you guys want to get it on for a 5-panel straight, I don't know, maybe Egypt. Someplace with a lot of sand and openness. Don't be blasting rocks at innocents. It's not nice. Number 8, Wonder Woman causing volcanoes to explode. I mean, that's pretty epic, but what about that time she made Captain Atom explode? If you drop a can of soda on the ground, it's ready to blow. You don't want to touch it. The last thing you want to do is puncture that can, or else you're gonna be sticky and you're covered in bees. No one wants bees. In the Injustice storyline, we find Wonder Woman making a not so smart choice when it comes to handling Captain Atom. So he's about to rock Superman, right? And then Wonder Woman comes in and cuts his throat open with her sword. "Oh, you stupid," he says to Diana. "I have more power in me than 10 nuclear bombs, and you and your stupid magic sword have just breached the thing that contains it." But then he decides, this is my last opportunity anyway, screw it. Grabs Superman and then takes Superman out to get an up close and personal look at the light show. Nice. Number 7, Darkseid's powers. Sometimes you have a choice, and sometimes that choice is a lose-lose. These happen a lot in comic book movies, like Doctor Strange giving away the Time Stone to Thanos and then powering him up. It's a bad move, but it's better than the alternative still, because he saw the future, he knows. So in Wonder Woman's case, he was less of a problem this time around. So when Brainiac took control of Warworld in the Our Worlds at War storyline, specifically Wonder Woman issue 173, Wonder Woman gives away part of her soul in order to restore Darkseid's powers. Why the hell would she do that? To fight off the alien Imperiox? Yeah? Okay, I guess that's fine, that's fair. It's more than fair. I mean, after his powers are restored, they're able to stop Brainiac 13 and Imperiox. But you can't be juicing that guy up. I mean, of all people, not him. Number 6, ahead of the game. So one of the changes to reality that occurs during the Flashpoint event is when Wonder Woman and Aquaman get married. It's great. I mean, well, not really. Weddings are just fun, I guess, I don't know. I hear the song Shout and then I black out. It's so weird. This is a reality now where Bruce Wayne was killed and not his parents. So Superman is in a government lab having a not so relaxing time, and then we see Diana being saved by a sea monster from Aquaman. Ah, how lovely. A nice thing. Ah, yes. Classic Wonder Woman. Nothing like getting cheated on and then having your head cut off, adding injury to insult in this case. She then pops her crown off her severed head and then places it nicely on her own. And of course, a war follows between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, but comes to a lovely conclusion when Wonder Woman kills Aquaman by stabbing him in the back. Literally. Number 5, hung up on Trevor. Okay, so the Flashpoint paradox has a good chunk of not so pleasant moments. I mean, that's the whole point. Some things aren't meant to be changed, or else you risk opening the door to these nasty other realities. Like the one where Wonder Woman kills. A lot. So in the comics, we see Wonder Woman, rather Queen Diana at this point, send some Amazons to kill Steve Trevor, which alone, as I say that, just sounds terrible. But to make it even more list-worthy, the animated version is so much darker. Yikes. Okay, if we see this scene in the Flashpoint movie, I'll stand up and clap. I'll do it. I'll be like, yes, you guys, someone did it. Number 4, bat for a bat. Jealousy can turn people, sometimes for the best. Like if your ex starts dating somebody new and you're like, I'll show you by bettering myself physically and mentally. Haha, I showed you. Or sometimes jealousy can make you fight another superhero because you're too in love with Batman. Either one. In Batman Brave and the Bold issue 78, we find Batgirl and Wonder Woman going at it, all for the love of Batman. I mean, it starts off kind of cute. Wonder Woman writes, "I love Batman" in the sky, hell yeah. And then this plane comes in, and who could it be? Is that Batgirl? What is she? Oh, she's wiping with a lovely message, awesome. Oh, she's writing something of her own, what does it say? "Only I love Batman, Batgirl," nice. So Wonder Woman's like, haha, okay, hold on a sec. Lasso's Batgirl, she's upset, I mean fair, she just wiped away her message and she's like, no, I love him more. "Impossible," she says, and then this is where Batgirl goes too far. She says back, "Nothing is impossible for you, you unhip chick." Wonder Woman ended up winning, but at what cost? Number 3, Hunted the Huntress. Now when it comes to non-canon stories or alternate dark realities, sure, it doesn't really count as much. You can kind of put those away in your head and pretend like they don't exist. But these horrible actions are still done by our beloved heroes. It's hard to get over some of these happenings. It's kind of like when you have a dream your sibling is being mean to you, and then you wake up the next morning just angry at them for no reason. Like before school, they're like, "Good morning," and you're like, "Morning," whatever. Shut up. So on the topic of injustice, we find our main supers in a world that's not so bright. Issue 21 of Injustice Year 3 shows us just how great Wonder Woman is at cracking the whip when she wraps the lasso of pain around the neck of Huntress. And then the crack we hear is, well, it's exactly what you think. Now, she didn't mean to kill her, but I also didn't mean to wrist shot an orange hockey ball at my neighbor's parked car when I was 13. Accident or not, you're still paying the price, Buster. Number 2. Cut to the chase. With Wonder Woman 1984 getting the official go-ahead to release on HBO Max this holiday season, it's fair to look into some other run-ins with the two. One that's particularly notable, starting in Wonder Woman Volume 3, Issue 26, titled Rise of the Olympian. So we see her interrogation skills bump up a notch when she crossed paths with Cheetah. So she decides to threaten her, of course by demanding Cheetah to tell her the location of Etta Candy, or else she'll cut her tail off. That's crazy. That's like the superhero version of a mob boss taking a finger. That's so thug. And number 1, she left humanity behind. With time jumps and time heists, superhero flicks can bring up a lot of questions during the downtime in between these films. Like for example, Kat going back in time to be with Peggy. Wonderful, so sweet. May have even brought a tear out of my eye. Maybe 2 tears, or 70 tears. But then you think of all the things that still happen in real life and you're like, really? Like he was there the whole time? I feel like you could have done something for like, I don't know, one of those horrible events. Now of course in doing so may just cause even worse things to happen, like we see with Barry Allen saving his mother, but then Wonder Woman hangs Steve Trevor, so it's like, This idea comes crawling back in now that we see Wonder Woman in modern day Justice League movies. She tells Bruce at the end of Dawn of Justice that men made a world where standing together is impossible, and left humanity for a century. I mean, again, I feel like you could have just stepped in, helped out with maybe, I don't know, World War II?
Number 10 was a criminal. Yep, remember that time Lois accepted bribes to delay a story and used her bribes to buy fancy clothing, then got found out and was sent to prison pending her trial? No? Well, that's likely because although that all did happen, in the end it was revealed that it was all part of a plot that was arranged between Lois and Superman to nail some crooks. Lois pretended to accept the bribes working alongside the authorities simply to get closer to the head honcho and help Superman and the police capture him. He was the one to help break her out of prison, hoping to intimidate Lois and recapture the evidence she supposedly had on him. Unfortunately for him, Superman crashed the party, following the escape vehicle to his hideout. The authorities arrested him and Lois got rewarded with a fur coat for her troubles. But still, she looked pretty guilty through a lot of it. You only find that out at the end, so if you read like 70% of that story, you're gonna be like, what is happening? Lois, stop accepting these bribes. Number 9 won a Pulitzer. Lois has won many Pulitzers across multiple universes and alternate realities, and while this might not initially sound like such a dark thing to have happened, in the film Superman Returns we learn just what story won Lane her esteemed prize. The subject? How much the world doesn't actually need heroes like Superman. I love how against the original concept of the character this is, while also kind of coinciding with it. Lois originally was a woman obsessed with Superman to the extent of even focusing more on him at times than pursuing the best story. story. But in Superman Returns, she is both fixated with Superman, but not in a lovey-dovey you must marry me type way, not with this story. The title of her piece that won her the prize was Why the World Doesn't Need Superman. Of course, by the end of the film, Lois has kind of changed her mind and writes a piece about why the world does need him. But her first piece still stands. Also, her first piece won the Pulitzer, and the second one, I don't know if she won a Pulitzer for that one. I think they were like, we don't like this one as much. Can you win multiple Pulitzer prizes anyways? Like once you've won one, can you still win more? I think you can. Number 8, lied about her age. In one continuity, Lois was raised to be tough as nails by her military father, who had wanted sons but ended up with daughters, Lois and her younger sister Lucy. Already instilled with a hard-working ethic when she was just 15, Lois attempted to apply for a job at the Daily Planet, while her father was stationed in Metropolis, where her family was also temporarily living. She lied in an attempt to get hired, claiming to be 19. Lucy rats her out, but Lois ends up securing the job anyways, even though she is too young to be employed there. She's only 15, when she manages to sneak into Lex Luthor's building and steal some files. Also, the rest of that issue is super weird. When Lex catches her, it's weird. I think he spanks her. I think that's like her punishment. He's like, I'm gonna spank you, that'll teach you, young Lois Lane. And then he's like, I hope I meet her in 10 years. And I'm like, that's creepy, Lex. Don't stop that. Stop it. Number 7, impersonated an actress. In the first issue of Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, Lois impersonated the world-famous French actress Lois Lane. She did so to get a big scoop on an ambassador who refused to meet with the press. Back in her early days, Lois was always pulling crazy stunts like this, but this time her act was so convincing and deemed so deceitful by Superman that when he found out about it, he intervened to get back at Lois. Of course, Superman was also kind of being a huge jerk in this issue, as he usually is in this comic, but yeah, both Lois and Superman are they're really always awful to one another at times in this series, as well as everyone around them. Also, Lois does a terrible French accent to impersonate La Flamme, effectively mocking her while impersonating her. How rude. Like, she even acknowledges that it's a bad accent. She's like, I'm gonna do this terrible French accent to impersonate a real French person. That's so insulting. Number 6. Got between Robin and Batman. In an imaginary story, Lois Lane ends up dating Bruce Wayne, falling in love with him, and marrying him. Superman nor Clark Kent refuses to get in between them, as he feels that marrying Lois would actually put her in too much danger. So he's like, I guess I'll just let this happen, I guess I'm fine with it. Super not fine with it. Which is the same excuse actually that Superman feeds Lois for years in the comics, while she remains weirdly obsessed with him and marriage. She's like, marry me, and he's like, it'll be too dangerous, and she's like, okay, but you always say that. Give me a better excuse. No, he's only got one excuse. He doesn't want to marry you, Lois, get over it. This is obviously not the Lois we know today, who is a hard-hitting reporter and a more intellectual, career-focused woman. After Lois marries Bruce in the story, she finds out he's Batman, and subsequently, while she and Batman appear to be living happily ever after, isolates Batman's greatest ally, Robin. Her closeness with Bruce causes him to kind of give Robin the cold shoulder, and when the pair have their first child, it's also made apparent to Robin that Batman seeks to have his natural-born son become the heir to the Batman mantle, as opposed to his pal Robin. Harsh. Poor Robin. He's like, but I thought I was like your first son. Batman's like, you're not really my son though. You're just a kid that lives with me. Don't get too attached. Number 5. Poses as a man's dead wife. This story, in all, was pretty awful, but also Lois did help in a weird way. First of all, Lois is sent on a journalist job by Perry White to go undercover to get the scoop on a famous horror film star, Carlos Floyd, and his new wife, Edna Van Cleve III. Lois and Clark are both sent to pose as a maid and a butler, respectively, on Skull Island, where the new couple have just moved. Also, just all of these stories where they're like, we're just gonna pretend to be someone to like infiltrate and get a story because people don't want to talk to us. I'm like, this is bad journalism. Like, I don't think you're allowed to entrap people like this. However, Lois starts to suspect that Floyd may have killed his new bride while she is there, but is making it appear as though she is still healthy and alive for some reason. She dresses up as his dead bride in order to spook him and hopefully prompt him to confess his guilt. However, it turns out that Floyd actually isn't the guilty party. It was Sydney Willis, Edna's lawyer, who was to blame. In fact, Floyd had been making her appear alive in an attempt to catch the true culprit. So he was trying to actually do that with his whole thing. Fortunately, Lois also aids in this, and Willis is apprehended and man confesses, but this was a pretty risky move on Lois's part. Like, she was just like, I'm pretty sure he did it, so I'm gonna traumatize this man. And I'm sure it was somewhat traumatizing for Floyd to see her impersonating his wife in the photo that he captured of her until all of this was revealed. And he found out that his wife, wasn't like a ghost trying to haunt him. Be disturbing. Number 4, ruined a space rocket launch. This is a wow one. I can't believe this happened. As I said earlier, Lois always is so determined to get that scoop. She'll just do about anything. When it comes to reporting on a space rocket, that means faking a fainting spell in order to find a way inside it prior to the launch. No one was allowed inside the rocket, but when she fainted, apparently this was the only place she could be taken to rest. Would like to question if this makes any sense. I'm just imagining that one guy at the launch site just carrying her all the way up the elevator and the flights of stairs to put her in the rocket. Like, that's a long way up you have to go, my friend. Surely there's gotta be like a car or something nearby that they could have put her in. But no, apparently the rocket is the nearest place for her to be safe. Also, you shouldn't even be putting her in there. Whatever, it's fine, it happened. Anyways, once inside, Lois basically stretches out, examining the interior and marveling over how successful and smart of a reporter she is for managing to get inside the restricted area of the inside of the rocket prior to launch. Now, she accidentally hits a little gadget, causing the rocket to fire up before its scheduled launch time, which is actually supposed to be in 2 days. So this is a really early launch. Superman once again uses Lois's mistake as an opportunity to teach her a lesson, which is also pretty awful once more. But Lois also probably cost that space exploration team tons of money. Like, space rocket launches are expensive, girl. What are you doing? Number 3, tried to kill the Kents. In Blackest Night Superman, Lois Lane of Earth 2 was resurrected as a Black Lantern and was sent to kill the New Earth Kents. She wasn't successful, fortunately, and she wasn't the one pulling the strings behind this master plot, but this probably is one of the darkest things we've ever seen Lois do. In the end, she is one of the Lanterns to join up to take on the JSA. She ends up having to fight Power Girl, who to her was kind of like a daughter, so this is all pretty dark. Number 2, Earth 3. Everything the evil version of Lois Lane from Earth 3 does is pretty dark. The Earth 3 version of Lois is the villainous hero, Superwoman. She has had multiple affairs and thoroughly enjoys using her lasso of submission to enslave those who oppose her, and even those who don't oppose her. She just likes enslaving people with a lasso. At one point when she is pregnant, she tries to convince both her partners Ultraman and Owlman that they were the father, manipulating them in order to turn them against one another. In reality, the baby wasn't even either of theirs, but was actually from a relationship she had with Alexander Luthor, who was technically the crime syndicate, her League of Villainous Heroes, enemy. Basically, this version of Lois is all about manipulating others in order to satisfy her own selfish desires. Number 1 was racist. Yeah, this story was bad. It comes to us from the issue of Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane 106, which honestly feels like it should be older based on its tone, but it's actually from 1970 if you can believe it. So this story is only 50 years old, and yeah, it's not good. And it also is not aged well at all. Lois is attempting to win a Pulitzer and wants to write about the plights of those living in the Little Africa borough of Metropolis. However, Lois finds no one in Little Africa is willing to talk with her because she is white. So she comes up with a way of getting around that. She asks Superman to use his Kryptonian tech, the Plastamold, to temporarily change the color of her skin, turning her black for the day. Yeah, and it's worse than you think, trust me. One of the worst parts of the story is when Lois asks Superman if he would still marry her if she remained black. Superman does not answer the question but follows it up instead with another question about if she's really asking him that question. An alien, a universal outsider. Is this supposed to be Superman basically saying yes without actually saying it, or is he just trying to avoid the question? Either way, it's not a good look for you, Superman. Lois also responds by calling Superman the right color. Wow, just a million times yikes. Definitely the darkest timeline here. This is like such a bad story. Lois has definitely committed some very questionable acts with some very loose reasoning attached. It seems like she's come a long way in terms of her character evolution, from doing all kinds of crazy things in an attempt to capture Superman's heart or a good story, to becoming a more logical and methodical character when it comes to her plots, and also a more ethical character in my opinion.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Diana gets ahead of the game. One of the changes to reality that occurs during the Flashpoint event is when Wonder Woman and Aquaman Aquaman get married. I mean, it's great. I mean, well, not really. I mean, weddings are fun, I guess. I don't know. I hear shout and then I black out. It's so weird how that works. So this is the reality now where Bruce Wayne was shot and not his parents. And if that wasn't wild enough, Superman is now in a government lab having a not so relaxing time. And then we see Diana being saved by a sea monster from Aquaman. How lovely. A nice thing. This is great. We have nice things in this list already. Lovely. Ah, yes. Classic Wonder Woman. Nice. Nothing like getting cheated on and then having your head cut off, adding injury to insult this time. And then she pops her crown off of her severed head and then places it nicely on her own head. A war of course follows between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, but it comes to a lovely conclusion when Wonder Woman stabs Aquaman in the back. And yes, I mean literally in this sense. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a like, that would be great. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Let's pop right back into number 9 right off the bat. Let's keep going. Number 9, hard feelings. This next one isn't exactly a bad deed, but it's too weird of a Justice League story to not include, so I'm gonna throw it in at number 9. One I'd rather not have in my brain all day, so let's just get it out of the way. So now we go to World's Finest Comics issue 289. So Batman and Superman decide to catch up on some bro time, you know, take a break from beating up bad guys, just have a heart-to-heart, see what's going on in here. Now this heart-to-heart is the start of a wild adventure. Now the issue is titled The Krill Way of Dying, and the dialogue itself is really good stuff actually. It highlights the mental health struggles that superheroes go through, you know, not being able to save everybody. It's meaningful, it's powerful dialogue, but what takes this issue to new heights, well rather new lows, is when Superman and Batman are interrupted by a meteorite crashing, and out of the meteorite emerges the crew. Now the crew, not what you imagine in your head off the bat. I can tell you that because the crew, they're a bunch of space worms and they're attracted to sadness. That's how they found the two, because they were talking about super sad stuff and they're like, yes, sad, this way, let's go, let's head it. Their super depression was literally glowing. So these aliens need emotion in order to pass away. See what happens when you try and feel nice things, Justice League? Way to go, now we're all crying. I'm definitely crying. They're dead. Space worms are coming for me because I'm crying now. What a vicious circle. Number 8, Lockdown, Beatdown. Kingdom Come is a 4-issue miniseries that comes from Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It's an Elseworlds imprint. Now, in this alternate reality, 20 years into the future, our heroes have gotten a little older, so they settled into the retirement life. Now, these new anti-heroes stepped up, and new vigilantes, of course, soon followed. Some of them were children of the previous superheroes, so it goes kind of deep. See, Parasite breaks open a hero named Captain Atom, and you already know by his name how that's going to turn out if something like that were to explode. Boom! There goes Kansas, gone. No, literally, Kansas was gone. It was now just this wasteland. So this is when the Justice League comes in to save the day, or I guess turn the wasteland into a super prison too. That as well. So when you throw supervillains and superheroes into this alien tech super prison, there's gonna be a few fistfights, that's for sure. Number 7, Tower of Babel. JLA Tower of Babel is a Justice League storyline, and one of the best storylines in my humble opinion. Written by Mark Waid and illustrations by Howard Porter, Batman is the greatest detective alive. Odds are, if you're ever in a room with Batman, he's already thought out your every move and he's planned his accordingly. He's always 2 steps ahead. That's what makes him the best. He also just happens to be the sole reason that everything goes in this storyline. He doesn't mean to, but it happens. So Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins launched this huge simultaneous attack on every member of the Justice League of America. Now the attacks are so specific, they're aware of the weakness of each League member. Now Batman was once worried that one or all of them could go rogue at any point, so he had contingency plans in order to take them out if that day ever came. So Talia al Ghul broke into the Batcave and stole those files. So if you want to take down some bad guys, here's exactly how to do it. Thanks, Batman. The best files ever. Now we have all the deepest, darkest secrets. Cool. So Plastic Man gets frozen and then shattered. A specifically designed Vibra bullet hits the Flash in the neck and causes him to have seizures at light speed, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. And Superman gets exposed to red kryptonite, and sadly, many more get hit too. Number 6, Batman ignores Blue Beetle. So back in Countdown to Infinite Crisis, Blue Beetle had actually approached his super friends and teammates after he had discovered something called the OMAC Project. So he brought it to Batman's attention, but Bruce just doesn't really give a damn at this point. He brushes him off almost immediately. Well, the OMAC Project of course turned out to be something, and when Blue Beetle discovered it, he's all by himself and he doesn't live to tell the tale. If only Batman just took him seriously in this moment, things would have turned out a lot less ugly for him. I mean, I know Batman created this thing in the first place, so it's kind of fair that he didn't listen to him, but like before Infinite Crisis, the OMACs killed a lot of people. Shouldn't have just given him like 2 minutes to maybe explain. And the fact that Batman didn't just listen to his team member, especially when he already knew something was kind of going on, Sounds like it's all on you, Batman. I don't want to be the guy to say it, but I was just the guy to say it. Number 5, Wonder Woman hunts the Huntress. The Injustice universe shows us a different side to our team members, sometimes a little darker than we're ready for. So in issue 21 of Injustice Gods Among Us Year 3, we find our main supers in a world that's not so bright. And when it comes to issue 21 of Injustice Year 3, DC shows us yet again how great Wonder Woman is at cracking that lasso of truth. It's just a matter of where she cracked it, that was the problem. Well, she wraps it around the neck of the Huntress, and the crack that we hear is exactly what you think. Bam. So Batgirl calls her out for being a murderer, even though she really didn't mean to do it. Accidents happen, especially in the middle of a battle, you know, it happens. I mean, the tension was high. The Huntress was punching through shields. Wonder Woman just reacted in a violent way. It happens, you're a superhero. I remember one time I wrist shot an orange hockey ball through a garage door thing. It's like, you know what? When you're in the middle of it, accidents happen, you get crazy. Number 4, get a room. Look guys, superheroes have emotions just like us, okay? They meet other superheroes and they take down bad guys together. They hook up in the sky in the owl ship above the rest of the world. They're just like us, okay? Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the powers of a god, right? Specifically Wonder Woman and Superman. So after the triumph that is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into an intimate moment with those two. So Wonder Woman and Superman embrace in each other, but where does this happen? In a fancy hotel? Fortress of Solitude? No and no. They get it on up there in the sky, of course, where everyone can see and hear. So they're superheroes, so this caused massive tidal waves. Volcanoes are blasting off, people are even evacuating islands. Like, this is a bad day. I mean, bad day for everybody but Superman and Wonder Woman. They look like they had a great time. Number 3, Superman moves Atlantis. Injustice Gods Among Us issue 12 is the final issue of the first Injustice comic series written by Tom Taylor, and we see Aquaman just unleash the ultimate pain. He's not having an easy go at this time. He's unleashing armies on coastal cities. He's trying to show Superman that he has the power as well, and that he's not going to allow Atlantis to be taken over. So Superman is like, okay, you think you're the tough dude? No problem. Let me step in. Superman sees this as a threat, and even Batman's like, great, this is exactly what I thought was gonna happen between these two. So Superman doesn't just fly in, fight Aquaman one-on-one, and then settle their differences with this whole ordeal. No, instead Arthur gets the help of Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, and they literally move Atlantis. They move Atlantis like it's new furniture.
Pivot! Pivot!
They move it to the Sahara Desert, the place with the least amount of water possible. Not cool, guys, not cool. Number 2, Superman outs Batman. So in the climax of Batman vs Superman, we see Bruce Wayne straight up try and take out the Man of Steel. It's intense, and it ends with Superman not surviving in a way, but until he comes back in the Justice League movie. Spoilers. So if you're feeling a little upset about that, this next one should turn the tables in your mind. Superman once outed Batman, and he did it in a pretty hilarious way. Through social media, of course, of course. Did he make a TikTok? No. Was it through Ask FM? No and no. It was in the pages of Injustice Gods Among Us issue 10. I mentioned this comic earlier because it has our super friends going against each other, but Superman takes it up to the next level when he posts Batman's true identity online. His tweet was quite simple and to the point. Batman is Bruce Wayne. 1.5 million retweets, not too shabby at all. Batman's trending on Twitter in real life almost like once a week, so I'm just waiting for the day when I look and I'm like, yes, Batman is real. And he's Paul Giamatti, get out of here, I knew it. I knew it. Number 1, Justice Lords. The DCAU introduced us to the Justice Lords back in November 2003 in an episode titled A Better World. Was it a better world? No, definitely not. They were a multiversal counterpart of the Justice League. This is an alternate universe now, one where Lex Luthor is the current president of the United States. The Justice Lords were assembled to protect humanity from itself, which just sounds like bad news. That sounds like a bad story in the making. So yeah, they were robot replicas of Superman, and the inmates of Arkham Asylum were brainwashed and lobotomized. Just not an ideal world at all, definitely not a better one. And then when the Justice Lords of this universe found out they weren't alone, they tried to bring their ways of heroics over to our world. But our good Justice League took them down with the help of our Lex Luthor, who used the power disruptor to neutralize their super abilities. So it's like good Lex, bad Lex, good team, bad team. Mind explosion. The idea of a rogue team member is terrifying, but a rogue team? What a nightmare. How do you stop them?
Number 10 took his own life, right in front of Robin no less. Of course, this was all part of a plot to get into the exclusive Death Cheaters Club, but he still made Robin take part in this wacky scheme. Not only did Robin have to stand by and witness Bruce drink a poisonous concoction so that he might momentarily die, but he also was involved in that scheme. It was Robin's role to go and retrieve the doctor, who was at Wayne Manor to visit the elderly butler, Alfred. To kind of pretend this all happened randomly, by the way, and wasn't planned at all. While the doctor attempted to revive Bruce, he began to worry with every passing second if Bruce would manage to recover and how awful Dick would feel if Bruce died. He was like, this is terrible, what if it doesn't work out? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you'd feel that way. I feel like this is not an activity that your kid's sidekick should be involved in. You shouldn't just be like, I'm just gonna take my own life and put myself in this place, but don't worry, it'll all work out, and just be here and make sure it works out. That's a lot of pressure. I'm like 11, Batman. Number 9, made Robin dig his own grave. This actually happened to Dick Grayson's Robin in the comic World's Finest in issue 197. One of those stories where the plot is all based around one shocking, comic-selling, cover-featured moment. In this case, the moment was getting Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen and Robin to dig their own graves, while Superman and Batman stand over watching them, threatening to kill them once they're finished. Oh my goodness. How could this happen? Well, I mean, Batman was going to do the killing here anyways, because Superman has a very strict moral code that he simply cannot break. But I know, you're probably wondering, how did this happen? It's so crazy. Look at this cover. Well, this seems awful because, like I said, shock factor. In reality, this all came about as a misunderstanding. Batman had bumped his head and believed that he was Mafia crime boss Lucas. I think I'm saying that right. Lucas. However, once his memories were recovered, it was too late. Superman was forced to seemingly kill Jimmy, and Superman using his heat vision at the behest of the real Lucas, who appeared on scene. But don't fret though, this was all a clever ruse created by Superman to help them all escape safely, as well as apprehend the criminal. The overall plan also involved wax figures and a little piece of mint candy, because classic comics. I was wondering that when I saw when I saw Jimmy and Robin get melted, that's what I was wondering. I was like, wait a minute. They melted like pretty intensely, like a candle. They must be wax figures. Also, I love that can all happen in front of like a bunch of people and everyone's like, yeah, that looks legit. Alright friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to hear about some more dastardly deeds that Batman has done to Robin, trust me, there are lots more, because classic comics and everyone was terrible back then. So be sure to let us know that you love this list by giving it a thumbs up, and maybe I'll have some more terrible things that Batman did to Robin to tell you about. Number 8, Rick Grayson. In a weird way, Rick Grayson was kind of Batman's fault, although KG Beast was the one who shot Nightwing, resulting in the brain damage that would of course affect his memories and leave him as Rick Grayson. Just around the time we had only just got him back as Nightwing as well. It would later be revealed that this incident was actually part of a larger plot, a plot to break Batman concocted by Bane and in part Thomas Wayne Sr., aka Flashpoint Batman. This proves that just being close to Batman can lead to all sorts of messed up things happening, including you forgetting who you are and instead of getting to be a hero again, becoming a very lost man named Rick, and later a brainwashed pawn of Jokers known as Dickie Boy. Rick Grayson was not a great time for Nightwing in the comics, and it all pretty much happened just because he was close to Batman and could be used as a tool to hurt him. So basically just one of the worst things I guess Batman can even do to anyone is be like, hey, you're cool and I like you. If Batman likes you, that's not good. Probably. Villains will come for you. Number 7, letting them fight it all. One of the worst things he ever did to Robin, Stephanie Brown, was probably to have ever let her fight at all, especially as this was considered such a controversial topic by Batman's friend at the time, Dr. Leslie Tompkins. In the story War Games, Stephanie Brown attempts to win Batman's favor back after being fired by him by putting a plan in motion to give Batman control over all the rival gangs of Gotham. Unfortunately, this doesn't work out, because she is missing crucial information involving the real identity of Matches Malone. Spoiler, Matches Malone is Batman. And Stephanie ends up being captured and tormented by Black Mask. In the end, she succumbs to her injuries, but it was later revealed that this was because Tompkins, who recovered Stephanie, allowed her to die, all to prove a point to Batman about raising kids to become vigilantes. This would later be retconned so that, in truth, Dr. Tompkins had actually faked Brown's death to prove a point, but took her with her afterwards when she fled, not actually allowing her to die. I mean, I agree with that retcon because I feel like otherwise, Wow, you made Leslie seem like really terrible. And yeah, that would be awful. Still though, if Batman had never had Robins to begin with, Stephanie would have never joined him, been fired, and then ended up almost dying after falling into the dangerous, sadistic hands of Black Mask. All in all, a lot of grief could have been avoided if Batman just didn't have Robins. Number 6. A Batcave Bedroom. In Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin, the list of injustices committed against poor Robin, Dick Grayson, are very long. Included in this long list is the time that Bruce made Robin sleep in the Batcave. Literally, Bruce Wayne is a super rich millionaire type who has a giant house and could have let Robin sleep anywhere else. But here, Batman is trying to, I don't really know, is teach Robin a lesson? Torment him into submission? I'm not really sure of the motivation, but either way, he feels it's better if Robin is forced to sleep in the Batcave to learn probably some kind of lesson. The Batcave is a literal cave, by the way, so it's drafty and completely unsuited for sleep when it comes to comfort levels. I feel like it might be time to call child services on Batman. Someone, get Robin help. Number 5. Rats for dinner. As if the previous point wasn't enough, Bruce not only deprived Robin of a warm, dry, and draft-free place to sleep, but he also deprived him of a rat-free place to sleep. The Batcave, you see, is filled with rodents, apparently, and when young Dick Grayson asked Batman and Alfred about dinner, he was refused any food from the household and instead told that he should catch his own supper, forcing him to dine on rats. What is happening? All-Star Batman was really brutal, not just to people he didn't like, but even to those he supposedly did like, such as Robin. Although I think maybe Batman needed to turn Robin into like a big jerky jerk like him in this universe before he would fully like him, because this Batman was definitely a jerky jerk. So maybe that's what was up with all the making him sleep in the Batcave and eat rats and stuff. Number 4. Slept with Batgirl. Although honestly, I wish I could count this for Babs too, but she's never been a Robin, so although it feels like there is some injustice that was done to her here as well, we're just going to focus on the pain that these two caused Dick Grayson, Nightwing, who is basically Batman's surrogate son in almost every reality, and probably one of the most famous Robins. This one comes from the Batman Beyond continuity and apparently happened when Dick Grayson was out of town. Not only is this messed up because, well, I mean, Babs was Dick's girlfriend, akin to a daughter-in-law to Bruce, but he also ended up getting her pregnant. The affair between Bruce and Babs ruined Nightwing and Batgirl's relationship, obviously, and afterwards Bruce didn't even stay with Barbara as the two broke up after she lost the baby. Major yikes alert. Number 3. Unable to save Robin. In this case, Batman was unable to save Robin this time around in the Batman Beyond universe when he was kidnapped by the Joker and Harley Quinn. For this one, we're talking about Tim Drake Robin. Tim Drake was out on patrol on his own. He ended up kidnapped and hidden in Arkham Asylum for 3 weeks, with Batman unable to find him while he was tormented and brainwashed by the Joker and Harley into becoming Joker Jr., and also was coerced into revealing secret intel about Batman as well. This whole thing, it was pretty awful. And although Batman can't be held responsible for Joker and Harley's actions here, it is pretty strange that Robin managed to stay missing for 3 weeks, and also that he remained hidden away in such an obvious place as Arkham Asylum. I thought Batman was supposed to be one of the world's greatest detectives. The pain didn't end there for Tim either. No one would happen to catch a sneaky microchip that was implanted in Tim, which years later would actually cause him to regress, with Joker's personality gradually taking him over again. Fortunately, Terry McGinnis' Batman at that point was there to save the day and managed to destroy the chip, freeing Tim for good. But that wasn't Bruce Wayne Batman, that was Terry McGinnis Batman, so just saying. Number 2. Dead. Probably one of the worst things even in Batman's mind that he has ever done to any of his Robins is when he let Jason Todd die. Well, I mean, he didn't let him die. He wasn't just like standing there and he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna look the other way for this one. He did try to save him, but unfortunately he made it too late. This also would create a major shift for Jason, who would return many years later, alive once more, feeling as though not only did Batman fail to save him, but he also failed him in the sense of abandoning him, as Jason did manage to survive. Now granted, Batman and the rest of the Bat family, they never knew about that. So although Jason still holds this grudge somewhat even today, it feels like he's expecting a lot from Bruce and company. Cause like, they would have been there for you, Jason, if they knew. However, if you ask Batman, not being able to save Jason Todd would probably be pretty high up on his own list of worst things he has ever done to a Robin. Number 1. Killed almost all of them. Despite it being in the name, it's sometimes easy to forget that the Batman who laughs was also once very much Bruce Wayne and the vigilante hero known as Batman. However, after being exposed to some very noxious Joker venom stored in Joker's spine and last breath, as Batman snapped his neck, killing him, Batman began to change. He became more and more paranoid and villainous, becoming ultimately an insane, almost hybrid version of hero and villain. Part Batman, part Joker when it came to his psyche. This prompted Batman to summon all of his Bat family members, but rather than ask them for help, he killed them all. Well, all of them except the Robin who was also his son Damian Wayne, who he instead offered a place at his side. Damian accepted and was spared, but every other Robin was pretty much murdered by the Bat himself, at least in this dark multiverse reality.
Number 10. Adam Smasher. Black Adam has two things he seems to be really good at: taking lives and manipulating people. When Black Adam joined up with the Justice Society after betraying the Injustice Society, he and the other heavy hitters started out as pretty much antagonistic towards each other. Adam Smasher did not trust Black Adam, rightfully so, and Adam thought Adam Smasher was childish and weak. However, after working together to escape the supervillain gambling establishment, the House, they gained a new respect for each other. After Adam found out that Adam Smasher had taken the life of Extant to save his own mother, he saw him as a kindred spirit. Ah, yes, a fellow life-taker, how quaint. Black started pushing Adam into becoming a killer like him, trying to convince him that that was how heroes should act. He manipulated Adam Smasher, and it worked as Smasher left the Justice Society to help Black Adam. There's a lot of Adams and Adams going on there. Not good. Number 9. Shazam. In nearly every iteration of the character, Black Adam has known that Billy Batson and his family and friends were children and teenagers that were transformed by magic. But if you think that has ever stopped him from trying to bring their lives to an end, well, you'd be wrong. In their first encounter with Adam, he bound and gagged both Billy and Freddy and threatened to end their lives later. Luckily, Mary Marvel and Uncle Marvel freed the boys. In the Bronze Age first appearance of Black Adam, he forces the lightning to strike Shazam and transform him back into Billy. He then binds and gags the boy again and throws him into the sea. This time Billy swam to shore and is saved. In another continuity, Adam wasted no time seeking out the wizard's new champion once he was revived, and upon learning of him, Black Adam threatened to take out his 6 foster siblings if Shazam did not relinquish his power. It was Billy's other decision to empower his siblings and create a Marvel family that actually saved the day. Number 8. Mary Marvel. Mary Marvel has long been considered one of DC Comics' most wholesome characters. After losing her powers though in the trials of Shazam, Mary later encountered Black Adam, who was dealing with his wife's death. After realizing that Mary was powerless, Black Adam instead imbued her with a portion of his power, transforming her into a dark, angry version of her former self. Now going by the name Black Mary, Mary eventually became addicted to dark magic and ended up entangling in the schemes of Darkseid and his evil minion Darkseid. He corrupted Mary Marvel. What a jerk. Number 7. Assistants. Dr. Sivana is part of the reason Black Adam came back in the first place, so he will receive no praise from me. But could he not have at least tried to save his assistant? In Justice League number 11, seeking out the ancient tomb of Teth Adam, Sivana eventually came across what he'd been looking for. But after entering the tomb, Sivana quickly realized this was a bit of a boo-boo. Black Adam, now resurrected, clutched the throat of Sivana's assistant, and after quickly realizing Sivana's aide did not speak his ancient language, Black Adam blasted the man with a scorching wave of lightning, disintegrating the man's body before Sivana's eyes. Though Sivana's motivations were sinister, his assistant, well, assisted him, and didn't seem like he deserved the fate that he got. But Black Adam did it nonetheless. Sorry, dude. Number 6. No Eyes for You. Lex Luthor, who was actually Earth 3's Alexander Luthor, started the secret society of supervillains, and Black Adam joined the inner circle of that group for his own reasons. Unfortunately, Luthor had plans for Adam. Luthor needed the power that Black Adam could provide, so naturally, Luthor betrayed Adam and had Psychopirate control him to call down the lightning of Shazam to power Luthor's machines. Unfortunately for Psychopirate, in Infinite Crisis number 6, Superboy and Nightwing free Black Adam from his control. Black Adam immediately flew to Hayden's location as the villain was trying to control Power Girl. Adam very calmly took his index and pinky finger and put it in the eye holes of the Medusa mask and just pushed through Hayden's face, taking his life brutally and instantly. But he kinda did it to himself though, so Number 5. Terra Man. During the Infinite Crisis, Terra Man was a member of the Secret Society of Supervillains, that one formed by Alexander Luthor Jr. Manning hijacked Ferris Air Flight 456. Power Girl pursued him, but he got away when Adam refused to allow her to cross Kahndaq airspace. Later, in New York City over the Kahndaqi embassy, Terra Man was hovering above as Black Adam explained to the assembled members of the press that heroes like the Trinity of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman didn't do enough to stop crime. So, he grabbed Terra Man and dispassionately ripped the villain in half, allowing the blood and body parts to fall all on the stunned crowd. He simply stated that people like Tobias Manning didn't deserve to live, and I feel like that kind of perfectly describes Black Adam. He cares about two things: his home and bringing his ruthless justice to the world. Number 4. Billy Batson's parents. In another origin story for Black Adam, he sort of technically ended Billy Batson's parents' lives. Archaeologists CC and Mary Batson and their aide, Theo Adam, uncovered the tomb of Ramses II and discovered the mystical scarab necklace that had Black Adam's soul/power inside. Becoming immediately obsessed with it, Theo Adam, who was actually an ancestor of Black Adam, took down the Batsons and returned to America. Their son Billy had been chosen by the wizard to become Captain Marvel. Theo noted that the captain's resemblance to the adult CC Batson, his father, and the emblem on his chest matched the one on the scarab. This caused Theo Adam to speak the wizard's name, and he found himself transformed into Black Adam. After Black Adam fully became himself, he did sort of redeem his actions, but still, it happened. Number 3. His nephew. In the ancient days, his true origin, Black Adam and his nephew were both thralls. The wizard Shazam saved them both and gave them the powers of the gods, splitting it between the two of them. After leaving the Rock of Eternity, Adam very quickly ended up taking his nephew's own life in order to gain the full power of the wizard. Sure, it did allow him to become a greater hero than he would have been anyway otherwise, but your own nephew? I don't know, he's a bit irredeemable if you ask me, and we're only at point 3. Number 2. World War III. After the destruction of the Black Marvel family and Black Adam's rampage, which we will talk about in just a moment, the heroes of the world banded together to stop him as he went from country to country. The enraged Adam proved to be a powerful foe, which was only made way more powerful thanks to the fact that Shazam, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Batman weren't around to actually help anybody. Adam severely and ruthlessly beat down and even took the lives of several of the world's heroes, notably punching a hole through the chest of Terra of the Teen Titans, which was just super unnecessary. The unrelenting brutality of his attacks, never pulling his punches, and going through anyone who stood in his way was different than anything the heroes had experienced before, and the battle only ended when his powers were taken from him as punishment for his actions. Number 1. Bialia. Alright, so how the hell did we get to a World War III scenario caused by Black Adam in the first place? Well, technically, it was actually caused by the science squad of Oolong Island, who created the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse for the express purpose of taking down the Black Marvel family. They should have known better, to be honest, but here we are. After the death of Isis and Osiris, Adam's direct family, he hunted the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse to take revenge. This brought him to the country of Bialia, and when he couldn't find the Horsemen, his rage and frustration got the better of him, and he essentially attacked the whole country instead. Adam's rampage ended countless innocent people's existences. It was easily his most terrible act, as they had done absolutely nothing wrong. He was just blinded by cold hard rage.